we are back live on the show floor, exhibit hall here at the Oregon Convention Center, and for some reason my camera is pointed over to a place where you cannot really, there's no one at that break table. If people are looking for a break, there's an entire break table that's good. I'm going to move the camera. Hang on, people at home. Ah, look, there's people. There's people, and there's people right here as well. Hello and welcome to SIGCSE Coffee Break, the show about everything going on at the 2024 SIGCSE Technical Symposium. My name is Mark Sherriff.
And my name is Brianna Morrison.
And Brianna has been spending every waking minute behind the registration desk.
Well, not every minute. They do let me escape every once in a while to actually go and attend sessions, which is very nice. Yeah.
So having been on the registration team for it has been 3 years, right?
This is my third year. Yes, it is a 3-year commitment. First year you're on, it's very junior. You're really just there to learn, to figure out all the ropes and how things go. The second year, you get more tasks and you get to answer more questions, and you've been through it all before. And then the senior year, I described it to somebody as, all the problems come to me.
Yep, there you go.
Yep, exactly.
So other than how your responsibility has changed, have you seen any changes during the because it's been a very interesting 3 years, right? With Providence into Toronto, which had certainly its own challenges, into here. So how have things changed with how we manage things for the symposium?
So the biggest change, obviously, is having both the online as well as the in-person registrations, and each year has its own specific perks or challenges with what happens when somebody wants to switch from one mode to the other, and what are the deadlines and how do we do that. And then every conference chair seems to want their own little version of how they want to do something specific, so you have to adapt to that. But I can tell you, the biggest change this year, so typically in the past, right on Wednesday, the day before the conference begins, we have always opened at 3:30 and closed at 9. This year, because of all of the affiliated events, and they had a lunch break at noon, and they said, could you open at noon so they could all register then and then wouldn't have to hang around when they're done? And we said, sure, that would be not a problem. So
that line.
Yeah, we were there at 10 for our training and to get set up and stuff. And people started trickling up, and we were like, no, we don't open till noon. We don't open till noon. We don't open till noon. And at noon, there was the line. And people stayed in that line, and that line went until after. It stayed that way until after 2. Now, luckily, everybody said the line moved really fast. And I know it did, because that first day, we checked in over 800 people.
That's astonishing.
Yes. Normally, we would only check in like 30 to 40% of the attendees the night before it would begin. And this year, we were at 60.
It felt to me, and this is not a criticism, okay? It felt to me like there weren't as many CVent stations there to be able to actually do your check-in.
We've always had the same number of CVent stations. We've always had 3 stations for people checking in, and 1 that we call in an admin mode that allows for us to reprint badges in case there are errors or something like that. Because one of the options you can have is to allow the registrants to change their badge names and stuff when they're registering, but that just slows down the process. And we say not that many people want to do that, so we just let people run right through it, and then if somebody has a problem, we direct them over to this one other station. So there were just as many stations as always, but it was just a lot of people.
Well, it begs the question about volunteers, because y'all rely on student volunteers. So if you're sending your students to SIGCSE, make sure they are registering to volunteer. So, but what about just, are there opportunities for other community members to be involved in helping in any way?
Absolutely. So every year the board puts out a call that says, hi, we're interested in volunteers, right? And they will have a survey where you can fill it out and say, what are you interested in doing? Some are 2-year commitment. Some, like registration, is a 3-year commitment. It just depends on, and realize when we say it's a 3-year commitment, like there's a new person already scheduled to roll on. It's not like we're going to appoint somebody right now. We're talking about the following year to start your 3-year commitment.
Right.
So everything is done well in advance, and it has to be, because we can't rely on last minute trying to recruit people.
Well, it's an important job. Thank you for your service behind the desk.
Hey, let me just tell you, you get to see everybody at registration. That's the best part, is that, like, if you want to make sure you see the people when they're coming in, that's it.
Well, you know, Larry Merkel did registration for a long time. Carrie Laxer did registration for a long time. Those are names that many of us know. And they, too, definitely, that's what they said. They wanted to be able to see people. They wanted to be able to say hi to people when they arrived. And, you know, if you want to be the face of the conference when all these people are getting off airplanes.
Well, or just, it's also, somebody asked me, like, why do you do this, right? It's also very satisfying to be able to help people when they come and they have questions and, oh, how do I do this? And can I do this? And you just feel very helpful and like you've solved a problem, and it's great for them, and that makes you feel better. So, that's
Love
good.
it. That's fantastic. Let's make sure we touch base on things that are coming up at the symposium for our friends at home. Right now, we are, of course, at the 3 o'clock coffee break show. Right after this, the next session that the hybrid folks can attend is on the CS23 special curriculum, the final report, which sounds like
ominous, doesn't it?
It's the Michael Bay version. So make sure you show up. There's explosions. I think Optimus Prime is giving the talk. But honestly, I mentioned this at the 10 o'clock show. If your department is at all interested in making changes to your curriculum, this is something you should be paying attention to. Our department did this, has been doing it for several years, and it really is a very valuable tool. So thank you certainly to everyone that's been a part of that.
It was a huge effort. I'm on the ACM Ed board, and we oversaw all of it. We got all the interim.
I forgot you were involved in that. Yeah,
we get all the interim reports and all that sort of stuff, and just the sheer number of hours that it went into making it is amazing.
So now you have to get started on the next one.
Exactly.
We all know how fast all of this is changing.
Actually, the ACM Ed Board is working on having what we call living documents now.
As opposed to the dead ones.
As opposed to the dead ones. Yes, exactly. So that the idea is we'll continue to update what's already there instead of starting from scratch.
It is weird to think about CS curricula as a snapshot, right?
Yes,
because if we look at, particularly right now, where there's such a changeover in AI and ML courses.
Right.
Anyway, so go there, hear all about it. The 2 business meetings, the 5:10 SIGCSE board meeting and the 6:10 p.m. Pacific time. I remember I'm in Oregon.
Yes.
For the steering committee, if you have feedback about how things are going with hybrid, these are the places that you definitely want to go to share that feedback. And we very much appreciate anything that you can share.
Suggestions, how things went, how things didn't go, what you would like to see done. All that's open for the steering committee to take in.
Tomorrow morning, the closing keynote, Inspiring a Galaxy of New Innovators at the Intersection of Art and Science by Rachel Rose from ILM.
Yes, I know. Very excited.
I know.
Yes.
This is probably not the right thing to say, but I really hope she has really good slides.
I know, me too.
Right?
Right? Yeah. Speaking of explosions, right? Right.
And then, of course, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, or 10 a.m., pardon me, we'll be talking with the program and symposium chairs for 2025 as we start talking about Pittsburgh and where we will be next year. But right now...
speaking of, don't forget to vote for the logo.
Don't forget to vote for the logo. At home, you absolutely can vote for the logo. There is an online form that you can use, and I have no idea what the link is, but I'm sure it's in Hoover somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We'll find a way to get it.
I just know that online people can vote on the logo.
Yes.
I asked.
And the logos are good.
Ish? No, they're good.
Look, the pictures are great. I have font issues. I look at them and I think that logo is awesome. Could we change it from Comic Sans to something else, please?
Okay.
Anyway,
So I looked at it and I just saw the really colorful one and thought, oh, that's going to cost a lot to print.
Oh, or it's going to be hard to put on a shirt.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, I went immediately to logistics because that's the kind of brain I got.
So, Brianna and I, and hopefully you at home, because it was one of the hybrid sessions, went to the interviewing teaching faculty panel, which was a panel that was talking about the challenges in hiring teaching faculty and what are some things that we could be doing across universities, what are things that we should be thinking about, but it also brought up a lot of other questions. So we are very, very happy to have joining us a professional of teaching faculty, I
like to call him the teaching faculty guru.
Teaching faculty guru, or
Yes.
just, how about just the dean?
Oh, yeah, that works.
The dean.
The dean, just your...
Jingling and Ding Dong? No.
No.
The dean. So this is Nate Dubinsky from Northeastern Corey College of Computing. Is that right?
I'm all about the product placement. I thought we're at a coffee break, so I should bring my coffee, and I'm hoping they make me the next mascot or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Nate Dubinsky, I'm a teaching professor. I'm also the Associate Dean of Teaching Faculty, Corey College of Computer Sciences at Northeastern University. I'm usually in Boston, but I spend all my time flying all over the place because Northeastern has campuses everywhere.
Yeah. You were just telling me that you just got upgraded to platinum status on Delta because Northeastern's been shipping you all over the place.
Maybe we don't advertise that too much, but it's diamond, and I need to actually look sore about this.
I'm sorry.
But yes, everywhere from Oakland to London, Boston, West Coast, Canada. So we got Vancouver there. Newest one is Miami.
How many sites are there?
So you're just going to give me the pop quiz to get me fired.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I believe at this point 13.
Wow.
And Corey is on 8 of those. And so at this point, Corey has, so at the beginning of this year, we just had under 100 full-time teaching faculty. By the fall, I'm expecting about 120 full-time teaching faculty across the network of campuses, as well as some purely online teaching faculty.
Wow. Those are staggering numbers.
So I'm going to add, so hiring is certainly what we were talking about at the panel. We don't necessarily need to rehash a lot of the stuff from the panel, but it led me to the question of, how do you evaluate these people? I mean, I know that there are going to be policies at each site probably, but how is this even coordinated for doing promotion or just even annual reviews?
Yeah, so I think we start, and this came up in the panel as well, start from the things that you value in faculty. What do you want these people to become? How do you want them to grow? And allowing for the fact that different faculty are going to go off in different directions. We start by thinking about what are the areas in which they want to work. They're teaching faculty, so teaching is always going to be a big part of it. As they develop over time, service, and we think about this at different levels. So service within the unit, service within the university. We think about service at the professional level. So those who come, and I missed what I'm supposed to be plugging here in terms of come and do SIGCSE stuff for the next conference, go do that. That'd be great for service, or out in the community. So we have a lot of folks that really care about CS for everyone and getting the word out there and getting underrepresented groups in, care about all sorts of service, and faculty finding the portfolio that works for them. We think about impactful activities that they would do outside the classroom. For some, this is research. For some, that's totally fine, as well as staying up to date in their field, so professional development, both as an educator as well as in their field. And so this is how we start and think about both who do we want to bring in to be one of our colleagues, and then on an annual basis, what I'm trying to do is make sure that every faculty member can get feedback from their colleagues on all the cool things that they're doing.
So do you do any kind of peer evaluation in terms of visiting classes or looking at portfolios, or how does that work?
Yeah, so much less than I would like to do. So I think you start from building strong community among teaching faculty. So one of the lovely things is, let's forget evaluation and just think that we have a community, community of teachers that want to see each other, learn from each other, and give back. And so there's just so much organic, hey, can I come to your class? Can you come to mine? Let's go out, have a beer afterwards, and talk about it and learn from each other. We've got a lot of materials that are being shared and then given back. When it comes to official stuff, I don't know the answer of how to scale at that level. But it's an important, anybody going up for promotion has to have one of these things, and we facilitate it and try to make that reasonable. Do we want to go into other forms of evaluation, or are we just going to throw that off the table?
I'm happy to go into other forms of evaluation.
Student evaluations are biased.
Yes.
Now we can move on.
Yeah, there we go. All done.
Well,
Yep.
you know, to play into it a little bit, because you know, I certainly see plenty of promotion and tenure cases. You've certainly seen some on the
Yep.
school, and you know, trying to convince. Okay, our tenure track brothers and sisters who have that dollar sign number that they get for what they get for their research dollars, and then as long as that teaching number is north of 3.5 out of 5, no questions asked, move right through, whatever. But then I'll see the flip, and a teaching faculty member will get that, and if it's a completely normal numbers and one dip, I will see a letter that says that one semester.
Yes.
And none of us have the answer to this, but how do we fix this problem? How do we try and holistically get people to understand that these numbers are garbage?
I'm going to push back a little bit and say
Please.
just because there is bias in them and known bias does not mean that there is not some amount of, I'm just going to stick this in my face,
You
that
should.
there is some amount of signal in that noise, which is to say I've been at places that do not care what students feel about their classroom experience. And I think that is an extreme that doesn't serve
Yeah.
anybody in teaching. I also know of institutions that is the only thing that matters.
Yes, of course.
The customer. I don't think either one of those are right. So
Right.
what can we get out of those? What can we take advantage of? The fact that you're getting so much feedback, that's lovely. Let's look at the comments.
Yep.
Interesting things that we do is when you get the teaching evaluation at the end of the semester, not a whole lot you can do to improve that semester.
Sure.
And so having intermediate, so we actually put out there a mid-semester, 3 questions, what's going well, what can be improved, you know, how the TAs go. And that actually goes directly to the faculty. It's all about improvement. It has nothing to do with evaluation. Some faculty are doing this anyway, doing on top of this, but just a simple way that you can get something that you can use to improve. We focus a lot on the comments that are coming in these student evaluations. I think that's really valuable to the extent that you can get participation up. And if anybody has the secret to that these days, I would love to hear it.
That makes 2 of us. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the common debate and the promotion tenure, you know, discussion I have is, you know, what do you do when there's 10, 15, 20% response rate? Do you ignore it, or do you just take it with a grain of salt? Is it just another data point? You know, it's like because we know it's only the ones who really loved it or really hated it that are going to be in that 20% response rate, right? And you've left out all the middle, which is the interesting people that you really want to hear from.
But even then, and I take your point, certainly, but are students really equipped to evaluate what we are trying to do in the classroom? Can they judge whether the classroom was welcoming or whether you were receptive to comments or things like that? Absolutely. Those have been the most useful comments I've gotten back, where it's like, I appreciate how Professor Sherriff had us put down our pronouns on this form so that we could, like, that is helpful to me. But as far as whether I learned thing or not, or whether I taught thing well or not,
Agree with everything. And okay, so this came up in the panel, and I don't have the answer to what are we trying to measure? And so that's a whole separate question that we should be asking. And to what extent are student views on that informing that? So to your point, is it welcoming? I don't know any better source of information than the students that were in the room to be able to answer.
absolutely.
In terms of the organizational structure of the course, the syllabus, how feedback was, they are well equipped to answer many of those questions,
That is
at
true.
least in part. And their own self-evaluation of, did I get a lot out of this class? Was this person facilitating that in my mind? Absolutely, as long as, and we were able to add by our faculty senate the question of, hey, what could you have done as a student to improve your own learning? Do I get a lot out of that? No, but it's a reflective capacity that may help improve the quality of that answer. So if we start with that and then
Interesting.
integrate that into a larger portfolio of materials and evaluation, I think we're getting somewhere.
Write that down. No, that's self-reflective.
Self-reflection, that's nice.
That is a really interesting point, because you want someone to center themselves in some way, to put it kind of.
Well, to take ownership of their part of the process, right? You can't put everything on the instructor. I mean, obviously the student has to meet them halfway or it's never going to work.
How do we do better with encouraging our current PhD students to consider that the teaching track is a real job and not just the leftover, I didn't get a tenure track job? I would argue that this opinion has improved significantly over the past 5 years. Well, I don't think we're there quite yet. And part of it, I think, comes from our tenure track friends telling their students this, and that's going to be something we're going to be fighting until people retire. But Brianna's been doing work with this. Why don't you?
Oh, yeah, well, I can tell you that something that we're trying at UVA currently is after students get through the proposal phase, right? So, well, I should back up a step. We have an intro, I call it the Welcome to PhD class.
It's homeroom.
Huh?
It's homeroom.
Yes. Okay. The Welcome to PhD class, it's for the new PhD students that come in the fall. And typically a lot of places have this where faculty come in and introduce their research. This is what I do. It's a way for everyone to get to know each other. Our new chair made an explicit point to invite teaching faculty in to introduce themselves and to introduce the concept of a teaching track position. Because most of the students coming in had never heard of it.
Right.
And they were like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And so you start to get lots of questions afterwards. And then we said, well, you have a district, you have studies to go do this. After proposal phase, we start to ask the PhD students, where are you leaning towards? Are you leaning towards industry? Are you leaning towards academia? Are you leaning towards, what do you want to do? And those who say academia, we say, well, did you know there's more than one path, right? And some of them have already set in their minds, I want to teach because the teaching is what I love and that's what I want to do. And so those who think they want to go into teaching track, we're partnering up with those or pairing them up with a teaching track faculty as a mentor to be able to help them through the teaching track hiring process.
I was going to say, I love this because getting them early on allows them to have the opportunity to have some of the experiences that are going to be important to validate whether or not they actually want this, but then also build up the experience that will make them competitive in the exact same way that doing research and producing publications will also make them competitive on a different track. I will say, I wish we could go even farther back and say, at the undergraduate level, what do you want to do when you grow up? And having the question of, well, what is graduate school? First generation, American, as well as going through the system. I had no idea when I was at NC. I was doing research. I didn't know what research was. I didn't know what grad school was. I knew I wanted to teach. And so my plan was going to be, well, I'm going to go and be a teacher in K-12. I happened to have a mentor that said, yeah, no, you're going to do the jury and you're going to do grad school. And you know what those words meant. You're like, oh, do a test. Okay, cool. But I think we need to be presenting what is the goal. So one is talk students out of a PhD that are looking at it for the wrong reasons. And also presenting what are some of those right reasons and what are the spectrum of faculty positions that might lend from this path. And then that's a part of selecting the right programs. I really love some of the programs that actually are blending together the research and the teaching. That's going to make us so much better and bring so much back to this community.
I'm gonna channel some of our other teaching track friends who say, do you really need the PhD in order to be a teaching faculty member? I think it really depends upon location, depends upon what you're trying to do, depends upon the job. And there's a lot of depends for a lot of these different things. But what are y'all thoughts on that? I mean, I coming from, like, I'm married to an elementary school librarian. My father-in-law is a college professor. My mother is a teacher. My brother and sister, like, I come from a family of teachers, and I know that just being able to get through a PhD, a research program, is very valuable. But that experience didn't help me in the classroom. Honestly, the years of taking drama did more for helping me in the classroom. And so, I'm kind of curious. What do y'all think about this?
Well, As someone who joined academia later, after a previous career, kind of a thing, I was tired of breaking glass ceilings. I was tired of being pushed up against the glass ceiling of not having the PhD, and finally decided I wanted to be one of the club members. So went back to get my PhD at 46 and said, yep, I tell everyone it was my midlife crisis. That some people go buy cars. I just want to go get a PhD. Thank you. So, yes, best decision I ever made, actually. So, because one, I very much appreciated the journey. I very much appreciated the ability to have nothing but to just sit all day and read articles, and you never get that any other time, right?
Definitely
And
not now.
admittedly, I did my PhD in CS education, so I felt like what I had done as a teaching faculty very much contributed to my research, and my research goes back into my classroom. So because that's what I do, it's very,
It really is a synergy.
It really
it
is
really
a
makes
synergy.
it.
Yes. Yep.
Complex thoughts.
It is very
Yes.
it is.
And let me start from the boring side of things.
Yep.
As an administrator, I've had to learn recently. Administrator of a university that has campuses in lots of different states and a couple different countries, to realize that we can have all the opinions we want, but it can actually be an impediment to accreditation and so forth.
Yes.
To take action on this.
Yes.
And so when I'm pushing against my upper levels and trying to get some of this done, they're pushing back for actual reasons. So I want to put that out there.
It's very true.
But
Absolutely.
let's get to some of the points that you're trying to make, which is, does a PhD, to what extent does that make you more effective as an instructor? And I think your point about drama is probably right, which is to say a lot of it is show, a lot of it is presentation, a lot of it is things like organizing and logistics.
It's management.
Right, which could have a lot to do with some people's PhDs. I don't know about yours.
No, I just assigned her classes that have 600 students in it. So,
But I think one thing that a lot of the students in a lot of institutions, not all of them, are looking for and asking themselves is, might I want to get into research? And if I haven't had really strong research experiences, and that doesn't require a PhD, but along the way you're going to get that. If I've had those, I am more effective in being able to infuse it into my classroom, but also have conversations with future students about, to the point before, might this path be of interest to you? So I think there are benefits to be had. I think there are lots of complex considerations to go through. But I also think this is a conversation we should continue to have, particularly as enrollment's going through the roof and leaving really valuable and awesome colleagues who might have non-traditional backgrounds outside of the conversation altogether.
yeah, please.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think this is just a continuous renewal and review of this topic, because nothing changes faster than computing, I promise you. So as things change and as we encounter new things, I mean, I would love to have a much more diverse set of colleagues that are helping me to solve this problem. And any way that I could get them, I would appreciate that. So, even if it's bending the rules or whatever it is, if they can teach in a classroom, if they can be effective and get the students to be motivated and learn, I think that is awesome.
It is another facet of, of how we are still trying to push the position forward. I mean, we've been talking about, we came from the teaching track off. Well, actually, you two weren't there.
No, sorry, I was.
You were doing other important things.
Failure.
But no, it's fine. No, but we were talking about things such as just pushing forward with titles. Like, how are we even just recognizing university? And that's still a battle that we're facing. And or pay equity. Certainly, our friends at UIUC are doing good things there. I think Northeastern, y'all do a good job of it. Let's not talk about it.
Okay. New to UVA, it ain't bad. It's a lot better than a lot of other places. Let me just say that.
We're setting our bars high here.
Yes.
But I think, but the overall point is that as the need for teaching track faculty has grown so quickly, so has the need for us to look at these questions even more quickly to try and figure out how that we best can work in a university environment.
I want to also push not only on there is a benefit from a scaling perspective, I also think the field of computing itself is shifting, and we're pushing a lot more into applications and humans in the loop. And having colleagues that have computation in their background, but also have other diverse backgrounds is incredible. So I get to work with a couple faculty who are here at SIGCSE who help us integrate ethics into our classroom. And their background is solidly rooted in a completely different area. And it just makes everything I do better. And I love having conversations with them. And that's just one example. So I think there is benefit to be had by expanding who can apply from the sense of, highest degree in computing, but also thinking about who do we want to be constructing the educational experience for our students.
Interesting. This all brings me back full circle to what you were talking about at the beginning of the evaluation stuff, right? It has to do with what you care about, right? What is it that you as a department or you as a set of teaching faculty want to present to the external world of what are your values?
Wow. I know we could keep going forever, but the break is actually coming to a close. Nate, just stay right there. You'll close out with us. Thank you so much for joining us and lending your ear. And thank you and thank your panelists for having that panel. I mean, this is something that we need to keep talking about in the future conferences, not just at here, but certainly at ITSC and all the other sister conferences. As someone came up to take a picture of the crossword, I have to make sure that I do put up at some point the clue. If you need the QR code, if you are doing the crossword, please make sure that you take a picture of that. I've also got it up here. And again, my offer still stands for any of you at home that if you want one of the bootleg logos, you are welcome to email me and I will make sure I get one to you at some point. Otherwise, you can just have a friend steal one from you, and that will work just great. So thank you both for joining me today. Thank you to the 2024 staff for giving us this platform. Thank you to the OCC and to DL Plan, as always, for helping us get the booth together. The theme song this year for the show is Embrace the New Day by I.H. Sandenser. Thank you for watching at home. And for those of you sitting here on the show floor, take care, be safe. See you next time. Bye.